In today's video, I am running through a mid-year 2024 market update. So if you are here and back for another round of what is happening in the Dallas housing market, welcome. But if you are new to my channel, my name is Kristen Carpentier and I'm a realtor here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And this channel is about all things Dallas real estate. We talk about the different neighborhoods and cities to live in, as well as giving you a peek at all the new construction options that we do have here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I also kind of like to provide an in-depth look at what the housing market stats here in the DFW area are. So before you make any decisions on where and when to buy or sell, make sure to reach out or check out some of my previous videos because I do have a lot of them, and even all of the information that I have put on my website. I do try to provide a lot of great resources to help you make your decision whether or not to buy or sell a whole lot easier than if you were to actually try and go it alone. All right, now in today's crazy housing market, understanding all of the factors that affect the market could help save you a whole lot of time and money. But today we're going to dive into the data and the trends that are shaping the Dallas-Fort Worth real estate scene here in 2024. And more importantly, what could be in store for the future here in the Dallas area. So let's start out with how the market has performed so far in 2024. Is it doing better or worse than all those experts had predicted? After all, in order to know where you're going, you need to know where you came from. I did put together a visual containing the median sales prices directly from our local MLS system, starting back in 2013 all the way up to now in 2024. I have different time frames and snapshots to be able to gauge at a more high level what is really going on and how the Dallas housing market measures up to the years prior. So some of the observations that you may notice: the 2024 spring market from January to March was on the lighter side compared to past years, noting about a 3.4% price appreciation. So not really strong by any means, but it was still positive nonetheless compared to obviously what some people were probably predicting was going to happen. Now that the 2024 peak buying season has come to an end, typically we do see that being from January up through the end of June. And we see that 2024 was the weakest it has been since the year 2013. And hold on and stick with me because we are going to get into this here in just a little bit. So from 2023 to 2024, as you can see, we were down in the month of June, which has been the case for the past 2 Junes from its peak back during the 2022 COVID boom. One final note observation that I do want to make and remind you of, just in case you don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the real estate trends, is that June to December tends to be the downtime in the housing market, with only 2 exceptions, of course, as noted in the years 2021 and 2022. Though the last 2 years have been the worst for the month of June, why was that exactly? Does anybody remember? Well, if you guessed our interest rate hikes, then you're absolutely correct. So as we do walk through things, keep that in the back of your mind because word on the street is that interest rates may start coming down now that the economy may be softening. So in our real estate market, there are some key metrics or indicators that you may want to keep an eye on, or you can just tune into my channel here more often as I do share what I am seeing out there. I could honestly teach an entire course on all of these different metrics, and it could take a whole semester even to dive into each and every one of them into more detail. But I'm just going to walk you through each one of them and kind of give you some observations so that you can choose for yourself what they might mean to our Dallas housing market. So I am going to run through each of them at a pretty high level and teach a little bit along the way in case the concepts might be kind of new to you. Again, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I am here to help. You can always call, text, email at my information down below or in the description where I keep all of that information in case you need to reference back to it and kind of find how you can get a hold of me. Okay, so let's first talk about the median sales price. We actually just did talk about that previously on that visual that I just discussed. So what exactly is our median sales price? Now, the median home price is the midpoint price of the homes sold in a specific area during a given time period. And we're able to pull data about the different cities, counties, and neighborhoods, and even the school districts. It's all right there in our specific MLS, and we can analyze the trends in a number of different ways on the type of information that somebody may actually want to take a deeper look into. So why do we use the median sales price? Now, we use it when we're analyzing the market trends, comparing neighborhoods, or just kind of really trying to advise our clients on the typical home prices in a particular area. Now, what is the increasing median price? Well, that is going to indicate that there is a strong demand and a more of a seller's market going on. And if there's a decreasing median price, that's going to suggest a potential oversupply of homes or a weakening in the demand, indicating more of a buyer's market. So when we are looking at the chart, you can see the high of almost every year in the past decade here in DFW has been the month of June. And the overall trend continues as July came in at around $385,000+, which was down from June's median sales price of $389,000, making it down just barely at 0.88%. So not even a full percent down. Now, when we compare that to last year, the median price has slightly decreased. June of 2023 was at $390,000, and it is now down the second year in a row, which does confirm the overall market has been flat or down ever so slightly overall, according to the live data in our MLS system. So for now, there really isn't anything that is too alarming out there. It's showing more of a resting period as the market tries to figure out the direction that it's kind of really trying to figure out that it wants to go. And as you can see, the cities tend to have similar patterns to the overall market. And as the market does start to stabilize, we could see more moderate price growth, particularly in some of the high demand areas like Frisco, Prosper, and even Plano, and obviously a whole lot of other ones that are out there. Now, the indicator number 2 is our inventory levels, or our month's supply of inventory. Now, what is the inventory levels or our month's supply of inventory, you ask? Well, the inventory levels do represent the number of months that it would take to sell all current listings at the current sales price. And how do I read it? Well, for low inventory, which is inventory that is less than 6 months worth of supply, it does indicate that it's more of a seller's market with limited choices for buyers out there, leading to more price increases. And when we have high inventory, which is more than a 6 month supply, it's going to suggest more of a buyer's market with more homes that are available, which can lead to more price reductions. So as you can see from the chart, I did go back as far as I could in the MLS here in DFW, and we have not seen a reading above 6 since back in 2003. Not even after our Great Recession did we have the numbers above 6 months. However, as you can see, we are now at the highest level in over 20 years. July came in at about 4.5 months of inventory for the entire MLS, and this has been climbing steadily since the low that we had back in January of 2022. So what could this really mean for the near future? Well, this is more of a supply and demand question from Economics 101, which honestly, I actually did pretty well at in college when I kind of thought that I was going to take that route with my degree. But I didn't. So if there is more of something available for the consumers to compete for, then the prices do tend to drop. However, when we do look at the median sales prices over the past 3 years, prices have not really dropped all that much here. They have actually gone more sideways and fluctuated during the normal seasonal patterns. So there really must be some other forces at play then, right? And either way, this indicator should mean that the buyers will have more negotiating power if the trend continues, which is just what a lot of buyers I have been working with and talking to have actually, honestly, really been holding out for. But next, let's look over into the days on market. And how are the days on market measured? Well, the days on market measures the average number of days that a particular home stays on the market for before it's actually sold. And how do you read these indicators? Well, a short days on market implies that there's a strong demand where homes sell relatively quickly, usually in less than a week and often at or above the asking price listed. And if there's a long days on market, well, that's going to suggest a weaker demand, potentially leading to price cuts or incentives to attract more buyers. Now, the current market conditions indicate the days on market is at around 27 days, which if you do look at the chart without the arrows, it may seem that that's okay. However, days on market is another season indicator. And this one typically is going to peak in January just before the spring buying season begins and kind of bottom out around June or July when it actually ends. So while 27 may seem within the range, one thing to take note of is that it is the highest low in the past decade for the month of June, meaning that it does confirm that the market is softer than it has been before. And as we do swing into the slow season, this number is going to tick up to decade highs. So for sellers, this is going to mean you're likely going to be making concessions as the bidding buyers are not as plentiful as they have been in the past. And for buyers, the coming months may mean that you're going to have more negotiating power available to you. And this may also continue to rise if economic uncertainty looks to be gaining steam in our overall economy. Now, one of the biggest factors in the past few years is our interest rates. Of course, it's all anybody seems to be talking about in regards to the housing market. And why do we care? Well, why shouldn't we, right? Now, interest rates are the cost of borrowing money for a mortgage. So when an interest rate changes, for example, from 6.5% interest on a $500,000 house down to maybe 6%, dropping a whole half of a percent, that can be a savings of at least $130 per month or more, importantly, over $1,500 for the year. And for a number of people, that can make a really big difference when they want to calculate their monthly expenses and what those numbers might be that are going to work for them when purchasing a home. Now, how do they affect the housing market? Now, when we have the lower interest rates, it increases the affordability, leading to higher demand and rising prices. And when we have those higher interest rates, it reduces the affordability, potentially cooling the demand that is out there and stabilizing or lowering the prices of the homes. So this is a factor that plays a huge role in the housing market at the end of the day. It plays right into the buyers and sellers, as we have seen the lock-in effect since the rates were raised so aggressively by the Fed. It made no sense to many of the sellers who don't necessarily need to sell to actually put their houses on the market when they wouldn't even be able to afford that same house that they were selling when the interest rates had doubled what they were when maybe their original interest rates were under 3% and they bought their house, or they actually ended up refinancing back in 2020 and 2021. And this has kept supply at very low levels all throughout the country. And even when other indicators are saying that prices should be dropping, that lack of supply is what is keeping the median sales prices higher than one would expect. Now, I don't really expect to see interest rates back at this level unless some sort of catastrophic economic event might happen, which a lot of people out there might think is actually going to remain to be seen over the next few months. But the artificially low rate that we saw really put many economic forces out of whack out here, which, when the pendulum swung back in the other direction, took rates all the way up in a relatively short amount of time, as we saw in the median sales prices over the past 2 years. Definitely, that ended up slowing things down quite a bit. Now, as of August 1st, rates for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage are currently at about 6.73%. Now, while that is down from recent highs, this is still not low enough to pry those locked-in sellers to actually put their homes on the market unless they absolutely have to. Maybe some major life event like a death or divorce or a job loss, or they're actually having to relocate here to the Dallas area, like a lot of my clients that I am working with. All right, so let's take a look at the sale to list price ratio that we have. Now, what is that, you ask? Well, this ratio is going to compare the final sale price of a home to its initial listing price. And how do I interpret it? Well, if it's above 100%, it's going to indicate a competitive market where homes are selling above the asking price. And if it's below 100%, that's going to suggest that buyers have negotiation power as homes sell below the asking price that they are listed for. Now, this one is a really good indicator to check, since it will give you a good indication of who actually has more leverage in the current housing market. So from the chart, you can see how this played out during the pandemic boom and when rates were hitting their recent highs. So from February of 2021 until July of 2022, This reading never went below 100%. Anyone who bought a home during that time, or tried to, I guess I should say, remembers how crazy those markets were. Homes went way above asking price with some crazy buyer concessions in order to get the home. And of course, a lot of times it wasn't even the home of their dreams. I know multiple times where that was the case, and people were already trying to offload their home and get into something more that they had really been looking for back during that time period. So now currently here in the DFW market, we're looking at 97.1% of the original ask price and heading down likely for the remainder of the year, as this also tends to peak in June and bottom out in January. So the remainder of the year, buyers will likely have a lot more negotiating power until February, when the spring market starts to pick back up again. We're going to talk about some wild cards later when we do kind of wrap all of this up here at the end. Now, the price per square foot is also another indicator. However, this one is not as valuable as some of the others. Often I do get calls from buyers who say they don't want to pay over such and such price per square footage. However, that number can often be quite skewed if you're not really looking at true comparable at the true comparables of homes in the particular size, location, their schools, and of course there's so many other factors that can lead into that price per square footage. But what exactly is our price per square foot if you're not totally sure on all that? Well, the average price of a home is divided by its square footage, and that provides a standardized way to compare the home's values. And why does that matter? Well, with the increasing price per square foot, that reflects rising home values and an increased demand. But with the decreasing price per square foot, that indicates potential oversupply or the declining demand. And as you can see from the charts, it's really just that smoothed out version of the median sales price. However, it is a little bit more abstract in terms of what it really means. But if you do tell somebody a home price, it usually makes more sense to them when they're looking at price per square footage. Needless to say, the current median price per square footage is at $193 here in the DFW Metroplex. So that obviously varies depending on the location for sure. All right, let's move on. Now let's look into some of these local economic factors and how these are going to affect the buyers and sellers. And some of these factors include employment and the unemployment rates, income levels and wage growth, the GDP, business development and investments, population growth, and migration patterns. Now, this is really a lot to take in and kind of put you to sleep as you begin reading some of the economists' reports that are out there. But they do, however, play a big role in our housing market, as you can only imagine. They really give us a gauge of how our economy is doing and if those buyers will be able to buy that house that you're out there trying to sell them. Now, here's how these metrics can affect opportunities and create challenges for buyers and sellers. Now, for the sellers, it can create opportunities. So in a strong economy with high employment and high income growth, sellers can expect higher demand, faster sales, and potentially higher prices. But what are the challenges? Well, in a weak economy, the sellers might face longer selling times and may need to adjust the prices or kind of maybe offer some incentives to attract more buyers to get the eyes on their homes. So for buyers and their opportunities, it provides a strong economy for the buyers, giving them more confidence and options, but it might also lead to higher competition and prices. And buyers should really evaluate long-term economic prospects and the affordability. And as for challenges, in a weaker economy, buyers might find more negotiating power and some better deals out there, but really they should be cautious about job security and maybe some economic recovery prospects. Doing obviously some thorough research and due diligence are definitely essential during this time period. Of course, before making any huge decision, you should always do your research. Now, when we are looking at unemployment, the DFW employment numbers released in July of 2024 show a slowing job growth and unemployment at 4.3%, matching the US rate. And the economy seems to be slowing just a little bit, potentially leading to some lower interest rates. And concerns about job security may deter people from buying those new homes, and rising unemployment could compel some of those locked-in sellers to actually sell their house, maybe increasing some of the home's inventory that we have out there. And these factors are going to suggest potential challenges ahead for the DFW housing market. All right, now on to the Federal Reserve numbers for DFW. On hourly wage and inflation, as of May 2024, indicates that DFW wages have flattened out. The DFW hourly wages lead Texas overall, but they are now lagging the US overall, as the chart indicates. Inflation has been dropping, which does help a bit with housing affordability. However, it does show that it has ticked up. And the headline Consumer Price Index rose 5% in May, excluding food and energy, with energy being the most volatile, and goods were up 12% annually, and food and shelter were down 2%. So why does this matter? Now, with rising income levels, those are going to help enhance purchasing power, allowing buyers to afford more expensive homes, thus driving up the prices. And for stagnant or declining income levels, that could limit the affordability and could lead to decreased demand for the housing that is out there. All right, now on to a very hot topic here in the DFW market, which is our new construction. Now, new construction is expected to continue to play a much larger than normal influence on our market. Typically, new construction homes account for maybe 10 to 15% of the home sales, and estimates, though, are that it could amount for almost 30% of total home sales. There is some information out there, though, that this may be declining from their original estimates that they had thrown out there. Now, Texas A&M posted a recent article indicating that single-family home starts and permits declined just slightly, and that the Federal Reserve's building permit numbers for DFW also indicate slowing, as you can see. Even the Dallas Morning News had to change its tune just 3 months after touting what a hot start the North Texas home builders were having, noting in the recent article that high interest rates and inventory build are to blame for the slowdown. So if you are in the market for a new home, conditions might be getting a little bit better, especially if interest rates begin to drop. And if you're in the market for an existing home, this may be bad news, as the supply of new homes was supposed to help bring down the price of existing homes, as some of the demand may have been alleviated. But if you are looking at purchasing new construction, we're still seeing some really great incentives, especially with the interest rates. Of course, it all depends on where you're looking, the community, the builder, but I have spoken with a number of them recently for multiple clients, and I have been helping to get some really great discounts, even some lower fixed interest rates. So if you have any questions about any of these areas, builders, locations, please reach out if you do have any questions at all on some specific areas, because I would absolutely love to help. I have helped save multiple clients quite a bit of money lately with what is being offered in regards to new construction. All right, now let's look at the foreclosure rates here in the Dallas area. They do remain below pre-recession levels, according to ATTOM data, as they indicated that 79% of major markets are in this particular category. This is a positive sign compared to the high rates that we saw during the last economic downturn. ATTOM data also indicated that this is down 6% nationally from the previous quarter and down 8% annually from just a year ago. And why does this matter? Well, with high foreclosure rates, it depresses the surrounding home values and increases supply, often signaling economic distress. And with low foreclosure rates, it's going to suggest a stable market with fewer distressed sales, supporting more stable home values. So there really are no current concerns about foreclosures and how they're affecting the market, as they also indicated it currently takes 815 days to complete a foreclosure. So there really, honestly, is plenty of time for lenders and owners to resolve any issues that they might have before it actually completes that foreclosure process. Because does anyone really want to end up going into foreclosure? I bet the answer is no. Finally, let's take a look at some demographic metrics, namely migration. This indicates the attractiveness of a particular market compared to others. Also, if there's a net positive migration, then supply will continue to be an issue. Since there's already a shortage of housing here in the DF Metro as it is. All right, now according to a study by MoveButta.com, Texas is clearly still a beacon for attracting businesses and people nationwide. According to their 2024 report, the following highlights were noted. Texas attracts 1 in 5 movers looking to move to states with positive inflow, and by pure search volume, Texas is number 1. Now, in the DFW area, it was noted that Frisco, Texas is the top big city to move to in Texas. So if you know anything about the Frisco area or want more information about Frisco, of course, go back and look at some of our videos or reach out because we can definitely help you with a lot of the information because there's so much going on here in the Frisco area. Now, it's the Californians that are still fueling our growth here, with more than 25% of move searches into Texas coming from that Golden State. And for every 1.36 new Texans, 1 resident leaves and are more likely to move to California than any other state here in the country. So I did actually find that quite interesting to learn that little bit of information. So Texas does continue every year to have new competition for home buyers as the net positive migration continues. So just a little something to learn about how migration is affecting us here in the Dallas, Texas area and the state of Texas more specifically. All right, so let's take a quick rundown on what we covered and the main takeaways before we talk about what the future may hold here. First, the median sales prices are down overall from the previous period last year, but not really by very much. And the January to June historic numbers are looking pretty weak for this year. Second, the month's supply is climbing at its highest levels in over a decade. And third, days on market are not really too high. However, we noted the low this year is the highest low in over a decade as well. Fourth, our interest rates are still high compared to the pandemic lows, which has now caused a supply shortage since sellers are locked into artificially low rates, with many under 3%. Fifth, the percent of original list price is still within normal ranges for the past decade and way down from that crazy pandemic market. Sixth on our list, the unemployment in DFW is the same as our national average and is still relatively low. However, it's up from our previous year. Seventh, wages in DFW are higher than the Texas average. However, they have flattened over the past year and are now lagging our national averages. Eighth, our new construction housing starts forecasts started strong in the first part of the year. However, there are indications that it is slowing. Now, the ninth thing that we talked about were foreclosure rates, and these continue to remain historically low and just dropped from the previous year. Now, the last thing that we talked about, number 10, was the net migration to Texas does continue here in 2024, as Texas is still one of the top states that people are continuing to relocate to. Now, overall, this is still a pretty strong picture for the Dallas housing market moving forward. This will especially be the case if the Fed rate cuts come to fruition, as this may really start to unleash the Kraken on the housing market and bring buyers out of their little slumber that they have been dealing with. It may also get some of the sellers off of the sidelines and bring more supply into our market. And if the Federal Reserve reduces the interest rates, we really could see an improved affordability in our housing market, which will lead to increased buyer activity. This particular scenario really would likely result in more moderate price increases, especially in more of our high demand areas here in the DFW area. Areas like Frisco, even Flower Mound, Southlake, Prosper, Salina, McKinney, Plano. And honestly, there really are a lot of other great areas here in DFW. So our list could just go on. Reach out if you want more information on more specifics on certain areas and school districts and anything that you may have questions on here for the Dallas Metro. Now, if we do have a stable geopolitical environment, it could end up boosting our consumer confidence, which will encourage more investments into our real estate market. Dallas could benefit from continued business expansion and job growth here, further driving up our housing demand as well. However, if wars and rumors of wars continue to play out, who only knows what could end up happening. And if the economy does take a nosedive, this could temporarily slow our market as buyers hunker down and end up really wanting to continue to ride out that storm. This will then cause the Federal Reserve to continue to lower our rates to spur more of an economic expansion. And if that happens, then voila, you here again end up having a crazy housing market again as the affordability starts to improve. All right, another variable at play here as the US heads into an election year, political uncertainty might end up affecting the market dynamics as well. With potential changes in our economic policy, it could influence buyer and seller behavior, causing those fluctuations in our housing demand. And the Federal Reserve's monetary policy will play a crucial role in shaping those market conditions. By lowering the interest rates, it could spur home buying activity, but if those rates do remain high, then the affordability issues may persist and the prices will really remain relatively flat. Now, another curveball that came out this year, and honestly, nobody knows for sure how this one is going to affect our housing market. It's the recent National Association of Realtors proposed settlement that requires the changes in how real estate commissions are disclosed and negotiated. Buyers and sellers will have greater transparency in understanding how the commission is structured. However, this is still a pretty fluid and honestly seems to have kind of confused more people than actually helping the situation. This settlement could lead to lower transaction costs, making home buying and selling more attractive. And with increased competition among real estate agents, it might drive down commission rates possibly, and potentially leading to maybe more market activity. However, the potential home buyers now have to sign agreements before an agent even shows them one property. You have to have these agreements signed before even being able to go look at any homes. Now, this agreement does detail how the agent is expected to be compensated for their services, but that is certainly something that we're going to need to talk about if you have any questions and you might be confused. I have been in countless meetings and trainings lately so that I can help better educate my clients. And so obviously, please reach out if you have those questions. I am only a text, phone call, email away, and I am more than happy to provide some clarification on anything that you don't really understand in regards to this NAR settlement. And as Dallas's population does continue to grow, being driven by that really diverse, younger demographic that is moving here and wanting to buy homes, this growth is helping to support long-term housing demand here in the DFW area, especially for a lot of those entry-level homes and family-friendly neighborhoods that are out there. Dallas's strong job market and their business-friendly environment does attract both individuals and businesses to our state and to our particular area. And as long as these conditions persist, the housing market is likely to remain pretty robust here in the DFW area. And the Dallas housing market does present a pretty unique blend of opportunities and challenges that we have out there. And by keeping yourself informed and adaptable will honestly be key in helping to make the best real estate decisions for you. So don't rush out and buy or sell before considering a lot of these insights that I've shared here today. So make sure you reach out if you have any questions at all. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more updates and insights that really will help you to navigate the Dallas housing market more effectively, especially if there's a lot of uncertainty and questions that you might have in regards to our housing market. So if you do want to check out my website, if you go to socialagentgroup.com, I also have that filled with tons of information and data that you can use as a resource as well in your research. And I do hope that this video has been helpful for you. If you are thinking about making a move this year or even next year possibly, and whether or not you are buying or selling a home, I am your girl. You can reach out to me multiple ways and my information is down below and in this video description. So until next time.